All right, so I recently had a question asked me about proper technique when working with a kettlebell, and so I just wanted to go over a few things that I think sometimes get forgotten when we're trying to use kettlebells for workouts. So first thing is, because a lot of times with the workouts, we're swinging the kettlebell between our legs. When you set your feet up, I like to start from the ground up. So when you start with your feet, you're going to want them a little wider than shoulder width apart, so you have that space to pass through. And then throughout these movements, I think one big thing that happens that we want to try to avoid is that when people are swinging the kettlebell, they'll tend to squat too far down and then pull the weight up and use too much of their arms and use too much of a squatting technique, rather than what we're really trying to develop is a tight core, strong back, and loading our glutes and our hamstrings and swinging backwards and forwards to pop our hips through, just like we would on a deadlift trying to get full extension, on a clean, on snatches. This movement is really going to mimic it, except now we're using a kettlebell. So first off with the swing, you want to start off with your feet shoulder width apart, or excuse me, just outside shoulder width, right? And then when you address the kettlebell, just as you would set up for a snatch, clean, anything else, deadlift, right? You want to put your butt back and your knees straight over the centers of your feet. And when you go to lift that kettlebell, right? Good position. Always use good technique. So now there is a garage door opener above me, so I gotta make sure to step back a little bit. So when you start the swing, again, it's not gonna be a squat down and then a pull up above, right? But you're gonna wanna really get your hips started. And I always like to give a little bounce just to get that momentum. So get your hips back and throw the weight over. Now what should also be happening through my technique is that you keep chest up, eyes up. I try and pick a good high point of reference to keep my eyes up, because I know that my chest is going to follow where I'm looking. Back flat, and then keep those hips back and shoot them through. So the other part that I want to go over is someone wants to work on shoulder strength and using the kettlebell for that. So I figured we might as well just cover the clean and jerk. So what you want to do for a clean and jerk is you're going to use one arm, right? So it's not a swing with both arms. You're going to start, same thing, feet a little bit wider than shoulders so that you have room for the kettlebell to pass through. And when you go to grab on the kettlebell, let me bring this a little closer. When we're grabbing on the kettlebell, we're going to grab further to the inside here and wrap our hand around. So we're right on the inside rather than directly in the middle. Because on the inside, what we're going to do for the motion of the clean is, starting that hip swing, we're going to rotate the kettlebell so that it's resting in a pocket right in the front here. So we want the kettlebell not to be coming over the top of our hand, but we want to twist and then get it to rest right there. So it's between the legs, little swing, and it's right into the shoulder. So just like we're doing with the swing, when we're popping our hips back and forward to get that extension, you're going to do the same thing with this. A push press is a dip, and then you don't rebend your knees, but you just use that momentum to push the weight overhead, right? So it puts more pressure on the shoulder to be the prime mover to get that weight overhead. But if the weight is getting heavier, or you're doing something with a lot of reps, you may want to move into a jerk. And what a jerk is when you have it there, you do the same dip and drive overhead, but before you wait for your elbow to get locked down and the weight to be overhead, you re-dip to catch underneath and stand up. So that's the difference. We have a press, a push press, where you have the weight, dip and drive, and then we have a push jerk, where you have the weight, dip, and re-dip, and then stand tall. Clean, press, right? See that? Press from the side, press, press, and then the jerk.